And we are live. And this morning, I have the pleasure of having John Lee Dumas on the show. And John is a very successful podcaster. He's the founder and host of EO Fire. It's a successful podcast, and he interviews some of today's most inspiring entrepreneurs 7 days a week. Welcome to the show, John.
Pablo, I am fired up to be here, brother. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, as you know, I in my show, Small Business War Stories, I travel around the country with my puppy and my guitar, interviewing small business owners all over the land. And you have a really unique perspective because you've been doing this for a while. And one of the questions, one of the things that I always ask people that have had successful small businesses all over the country is, what is the number one piece of advice that you would give someone who is trying to start their small business? And what would you say that is for you?
So honestly, you need to look at yourself and say, who are the five people I spend the most time with? Because if your five people that you're spending time with are Debbie Downers, Don Doolittles, negative, pessimistic people, then that's going to be your outlook on life and that's going to be your reality. But if you're spending time with optimistic, happy, inspirational, positive people, that's going to be your life. And one of those is going to win and one of those is going to lose. And I think it's pretty obvious which one's going to win. So look at your five and figure out, is this the right five people that I'm spending the most time with? They're going to get me to the place that I want to be. If the answer is yes, keep going. If the answer is no, boot those people out of your top five that don't belong and figure out who that top five needs to be and make it happen.
That's really interesting. Yeah, because we are a product of our environment. Now, I think some of our listeners may listen to that and be like, that sounds great. But let's say that one of the top five that maybe isn't being a positive influence in your life is somebody who is in your family or somebody who
Boot them
you.
out. Boot them out of your top five. I'm not saying cut them out of your life, but if they're negative and if they're a Debbie Downer, Don Doolittle, then they don't belong in your top five. I don't care if it's your mother, your father, your wife, whatever it is, you got to figure stuff out. And if you don't, then you know what? That's okay too, because this is your decision. But just be realizing that you're not going to get to the place you want to be if that's a place of massive success.
That makes sense. Now, okay, let's maybe, how would you have that? Because that's a difficult conversation to have. And even if you decide that that's something you want to do, how would you handle that conversation? How have you seen that conversation successfully handled for people?
I would say, Mom, I love you. You're an amazing person. And guess what? I am still going to be your son. And we're going to talk and we're going to stay in touch and we're going to do this, we're going to do that. But you know what? My priorities right now is X, Y, and Z. And until you are able to sufficiently support me in this area by being an agent of positivity, not of negativity, then we're going to be spending and talking less, and that's just a reality. So if you want to change and become more positive and more significant into my life, then make the changes. If you don't, guess what? We're still going to have a great relationship. It's just not going to be at the quantity level that maybe it has been in the past.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And how do you, because there's some judgment in there, right? So how do you determine whether somebody is being the voice of reason and helping you out versus somebody, because a lot of people sometimes say, oh, they're my haters, they're saying this and that. But sometimes those people are actually trying to help you. So how do you determine whether somebody's being negative and versus helpful?
Listen, there's something that we all have called a gut, an intuition. It is within us all. And you know it. You know if somebody's good for you or if they're bad for you. You know if somebody's a good influence or a bad influence. Just pull the blinders away. Stop kidding yourself. Stop trying to fool yourself. You have all the answers. There's no magic person, me, Pablo, or anybody that's going to be able to pull those blinders away. You have to. You have to make that decision. Follow your gut. Follow your intuition. It's gotten you this far in life. Now let it get you to the next level and listen to it. And that's going to take you to that next level.
That's great. Can you think of an example of where you had to do that in your life?
Yeah, I had some friends from high school. They were great. They always wanted to hang out because they didn't have much to do. So, they were into the wrong things. They were always complaining about a job or a boss or the government or this or that. And I'm like, why am I getting dragged into this? Why am I getting dragged into, drinking and sitting around complaining and moaning? And when I want to be exercising and being more healthy and, consuming inspiring content. And I made the decision not to erase these people from my life, but to move them to a much lower priority. And you know what? It's my decision, and they might not have liked it at first, but they had to deal with it because I'm the captain of my ship. I'm running my life, and it is what it is.
That makes sense. Now, you just mentioned things that, taking care of yourself, exercising. Do you have a daily routine that works for you that helps you be more productive and something that you have honed in over the years?
It's less of a daily routine because I think that's a little much for anybody having a daily routine, but everybody should have a morning routine. You need to have a routine in the morning that is your first X number of activities, X number of minutes in every day. My morning routine is about 90 minutes long, and I'm committed to it. It involves meditation. It involves reading an inspiring business book. It involves journaling. It involves exercise. It involves breathing exercises. It involves doing things that I know are improving myself every single day. And no, I don't have a daily routine that I follow like to the T, but I do have a morning routine that gets me off on the right foot that sets me up for daily success.
That makes sense. And you mentioned journaling. You have a product, right? If you want to talk about that really quickly, you have a product that you develop based on your journaling habits?
Yeah, basically one of the most important things that I think we can do as entrepreneurs, as influencers, as authority figures is engage with our audience and ask them, what are you struggling with? So when I was asking my audience what they were struggling with, they were very honest that they were struggling both setting and accomplishing goals. They just weren't able to do it at a successful level. So I said, hey, why not create a system, a step-by-step guide that's going to allow people to do just that? And that was my idea to create the Freedom Journal. Accomplish your number one goal in 100 days. So the Freedom Journal is a system, step-by-step guidance that's going to get you to accomplish whatever your number one goal is in 100 days. That's the focus of the journal. Launched it back in January of 2016. Since then, we've sold over 25,000 copies to people around the world who are looking to accomplish their goals.
Wow. Congratulations. Yeah, when you and I met at the Podcast Movement Conference, there was a long line of folks waiting to buy your book. So congratulations on your success with that.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
No, absolutely. So one of the big things that I focus on in the conversations with small business people all over the country is on struggle, right? So let's talk a little bit about what have you learned in your conversations with people about tactics that people use to handle adversity as an entrepreneur?
So listen, adversity is going to happen. Number one, just embrace it. Just realize that you're going to face challenges. You're going to face obstacles because you're a human being, and that's part of what life is. Now, instead of letting it slow you down or hold you up or disincentivize you, just look at it as a learning opportunity, and then go to other people who you admire, who you look up to, who inspire you, and see how they've dealt with similar situations. Because I'm sure for a fact that they've dealt with adversity, with obstacles, and with challenges. And if they're a good leader, they're talking about it. So find ways that other people are dealing with similar challenges and apply that to your own situation until you find something that works. But the most important thing is it's going to happen. Use it as a learning experience and keep driving forward.
That makes sense. Can you think of a time when you really struggled and when things really went sideways for you? So how did things go wrong, and what did you do to address it?
Yeah, one of the big examples of that would be back when I was about to launch my podcast in August of 2012. Like, I did all the things. I hired the mentor. Was in a mastermind. I had the equipment. I did the interviews, and then launch day came and I panicked and I was terrified and I froze and I didn't launch because I was like, what if this doesn't work? And that's what I was focusing on, and that's what I was scared of. So I kept delaying the launch with BS excuses. But the reality is that's all they were, which is BS excuses. And so when I finally did launch, and nothing was perfect day one and nothing was perfect day 2000, which I'm quickly approaching, but I'm able to keep, because I put something out there, and because I did launch, I was able to get feedback and improve and adjust and pivot and move forward. So get it out there, know that it's not going to be perfect, and make it happen.
Okay. So basically, it's a great artist ship. So you don't wait until it's perfect. Just publish is the enemy of perfect. Or I'm sorry. Perfect is the enemy of published, meaning that you want to have it published and have it out there. That's what I mean.
Yes, I think you got it that time.
Okay. Cool, cool. So let's talk a little bit about you were talking about finding other people and finding support. So sometimes you can find support in people that may be emotionally supportive but don't have any expertise in the particular problem that you're dealing with. And then sometimes you may ask people advice, but they have too much of a stake in your outcome. Let's say that you're an investor or your spouse. How do you kind of work to filter and work with the right kinds of people that you want to seek out when you're dealing with difficulty?
Well, number one, it's important to be seeking out people who have been where you want to be. So, whether it's the investors you're talking about or family members, whoever it might be, like the main question is, well, have these people been like where I'm trying to go? Like, have they been where are they the person right now that I'm trying to become? Like, is this the path that I want to be on? If the answer is no, then are they really the right person to give you that type of advice? So you need to be seeking the right advice from the right people. And then number two, it goes back to your gut and your intuition. I mean, get advice from people, but when it comes down to it, listen to your gut, listen to your intuition. Everybody has opinions. Everybody has this, everybody has that, but listen to your gut. Like, I knew that I had to launch a daily podcast, but I was told by so many people, including my mentor and including the leader of the mastermind that I was in, a daily podcast is a bad idea, John. They told me that it was. And I could have listened to these people who had more experience than me, but instead I said, you know what? They've given me a lot of great advice that I will take, but my intuition's telling me that I need to do a daily podcast for a lot of reasons, which I won't get into now, but it was telling me those that I needed to. And so I listened to my gut and it steered me in the right direction. And I learned from that. So, when it comes down to it, find people who are currently where you want to be, because that's the path that they've already been on. They're going to be able to give you much more sound advice. But at the end of the day, run it through your own intuition and follow your gut.
Yeah. How do you find those people? So a lot of people maybe don't know exactly where to start finding. How did you go about finding your mentors and those people who have walked that path before, who have been helpful to you?
I literally asked myself the question, who is currently where I want to be in life? Those people that I look up to, that I admire, that are right now where I want to be. And then I went out and I made a list of those people. And then I started reaching out to them and saying, will you mentor me? No. Do you know somebody that will mentor me that's in a similar situation as you are, that's a peer, that's a friend? And I kept doing that until I was able to find the right mentor, the right mastermind to get me to where I wanted and needed to be.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Now, you today run a very successful business, a 7-figure revenue business. How did you figure out which way to expand your business and how to grow your business over time? Because initially you were doing the podcast and now you do courses and you have, we talked about the journal. How did you, figure out which way to expand your business?
By doing things that don't scale, by engaging with my listeners one-on-one and saying, what are you struggling with? What are your obstacles? What are your challenges? And then listening to them and then providing the solution to their pain points, to their obstacles, to their challenges. So my audience told me they were struggling with goals, the Freedom Journal. My audience told me they wanted to start their own podcast, but didn't know how. Podcaster's Paradise. My audience told me they were struggling with productivity, the Mastery Journal, and so on and so forth. Everything that I've created has been a result of me asking my audience what they need and what their struggles are and providing solutions to them in the form of products, services, and communities.
That makes sense. Did you ever start a product line or a project that you thought would be successful that didn't work out?
No, but I'm sure I will.
You're working on it right now?
I'm working on that next big failure right now.
Also, let's talk really quick. What is your vision? Where do you want to go in the next 10 years? What is John's world look like in 10 years?
I have no idea. I rarely look more than 3 months in the horizon. The world changes so fast. I want to be flexible. I want to have agility. I don't want to spend too much time, energy, and bandwidth thinking about something that might never come to exist. So I just keep my sights on the horizon and keep providing value.
Okay. But at the same time, while you keep pushing every day and you keep doing it, let's say in the next couple of years, what are the things are you aiming for?
Nothing in the next couple of years. It's too far on the horizon. I don't know. I mean, the world's going to be such a different place in 2 years. I don't know what's going to exist, and so I don't know what I'm going to be doing. But I know at the core that if I'm going to be succeeding, I'm going to be providing value to people in some capacity.
That makes sense. Well, John, it was a pleasure to have you on this flash episode of Small Business War Stories. Really quickly, where can people find you? You are the host of EO Fire, and you have a few websites and things. Where can people find you?
One website, eofire.com. Come visit. We have free courses on how to podcast, do webinars, funnels, goals, be productive. They're all free. They're courses for you. eofire.com.
Sounds good. Well, thank you so much for being a guest on Small Business War Stories, and all the best to you.
It was a blast. Appreciate it, brother.
Take care.